A man is stranded in a strange land, prevented from returning to his homeland and family by war and other misadventures. It's a story that could happen today and a century from now, but the mythic epic of the Odyssey takes place over 3,000 years ago in ancient Greece. The man is Odysseus, and what keeps him from home is the Trojan War, the anger of the gods, and encounters with monsters. Odysseus is human, and the poet never loses the human element. Recognizable fear and jealousy take their places beside supernatural encounters. At the same time, the Odyssey is myth, and like all myth, its structures and symbols mirror the human mind and provide models of reality. It is this combination of realism and fantasy, adventure and mythic meaning that have kept Homer's epic alive for 3,000 years. Tell me, muse, of the man of many ways, who wandered far and wide after he sacked the sacred citadel of Troy. And he saw cities and learned the thoughts of many men, and on the wide seas he suffered in his heart many woes, as he struggled to save his own life and to bring his comrades home. The Odyssey is set over 3,000 years ago in the rocky islands and stormy seas of ancient Greece. The poet Homer tells us the story of Odysseus, the ruler of Ithaca, and his struggle to find his way home after the Trojan War. Odysseus's exile has been prolonged to 20 years by the anger of the god Poseidon, whose son Odysseus once injured. Now Zeus, the father of the gods, agrees it is time to end the hero's sufferings, and the goddess Athena begins to prepare for his homecoming. For the past 3 years, dozens of noblemen have been courting Odysseus's wife Penelope in Ithaca, but this faithful wife still longs for her husband's return, and she has held the suitors at bay with tricks and empty promises. Meanwhile, they have made themselves at home in Odysseus's house, partying and eating up his wealth. The 20-year-old boy Telemachus furiously resents the suitors. He would like his father to come home and kill them all, but he too is convinced that Odysseus is dead. Disguised as a male traveler, Athena listens to Telemachus's complaints and then advises the boy to take action. First, he should at least try to get rid of the suitors by appealing to the citizens of Ithaca. Then he should travel to Pylos and Sparta to see what he can learn of his father. The next day, Telemachus calls an assembly and publicly demands that the suitors leave his home. But the arrogant suitors threaten to kill anyone who tries to interfere with them, even Odysseus himself, should he return. When 2 eagles flying over the assembly tear each other to shreds with their talons, the suitors even ignore this omen sent by the gods. Telemachus is discouraged, but with Athena's help, he makes the preparations for his trip. Athena causes the suitors to sleep, so that they won't stop Telemachus when he leaves. The Odyssey is an epic, a long narrative poem about the deeds of heroes. The original performers pieced together traditional stories about gods and heroes and sang them to audiences. These traditions were passed down for generations before they were ever put into writing. In fact, we don't really know if there was a Homer or when he might have lived. We do know that the Odyssey was first written down about 700 BC, 500 years or so after the Trojan War was believed to have happened. It is important to remember that the Odyssey is an epic poem, stitched together out of many things: myth, religious ritual, history, tales of adventure and travel, and beliefs about magic and monsters. The author uses titles such as long-suffering Odysseus with the characters' names in order to make the words fit the meter of the poem. Frequently repeated phrases such as rosy-fingered dawn or the wine-dark sea are also characteristics of traditional poetry. The first 4 books of the Odyssey focus on Telemachus, son of Odysseus. Because of this, they are known as the Telemachi. We can see that the insecure and pessimistic Telemachus has a lot of growing up to do. Athena's purpose in sending him to Pylos and Sparta is to reveal him, both to himself and the rest of the Greek world, as the true son of Odysseus. Once he has a better sense of his own identity, he will be prepared to fight at his father's side. We also meet Penelope, the faithful wife of Odysseus. Penelope is in a very difficult position. She hates the suitors, but she knows that eventually she may be forced to marry one of them. Until she makes her decision, she must handle the suitors carefully. One of the tricks she has used on them has become a famous incident in Greek mythology. She promises to choose one of the suitors as soon as she finishes weaving a shroud, but each night she unweaves that day's work. She keeps this going for 3 years before her trick is revealed. A major theme set up in the first books of the Odyssey is that of hospitality and the abuses of hospitality. The good treatment of guests is considered a sacred duty, as we see in Telemachus's welcome to the disguised Athena. But guests must follow the rules of hospitality as well, and the arrogant and wasteful behavior of these suitors smashes those rules. Question 1. Why has Poseidon prolonged Odysseus's exile to 20 years? Odysseus failed to properly honor Poseidon with daily sacrifice. Poseidon was jealous of Penelope's love for Odysseus. Odysseus cursed Poseidon for the tumultuous sea. Poseidon's son was injured by Odysseus. Odysseus's exile has been prolonged to 20 years by the anger of the god Poseidon, whose son Odysseus once injured. Question 2. For the past 3 years, dozens of noblemen have been courting Odysseus's wife Penelope in Ithaca, but this faithful wife still longs for her husband's return, and she has held the suitors at bay with threats of violence, tricks and empty promises, the help of the father of the gods, Zeus, bribes and gifts. For the past 3 years, dozens of noblemen have been courting Odysseus's wife Penelope in Ithaca. But this faithful wife still longs for her husband's return, and she has held the suitors at bay with tricks and empty promises. Question 3. The Odyssey is an epic, a long narrative poem pieced together from traditional stories, passed down for generations before it was ever put into writing. What is known for certain about the author Homer? He lived between 4 and 500 BC, a few hundred years after the Trojan War was believed to have happened. He was an expert in traditional folklore. We don't know if there really was a Homer or when he might have lived. He was a celebrated military general. We don't know if there really was a Homer or when he might have lived.